Hey gang, coming at you, Algebra 1, Lesson 1.6, multiplying and dividing real numbers. Our objective today is to find products and quotients of real numbers, as simple as that. Again, all numbers are real numbers as far as we're concerned in 8th grade. There are some other types of numbers you'll encounter later on in life, but just so you know, all numbers are real numbers. All right, so let's look at our signs that we're going to look at today. The product or quotient of two real numbers with different signs is negative. So I missed out writing here. I'll add this. This is for multiplying or dividing. So if we have two real numbers with different signs, for example, if we have negative times positive or positive times negative, it tells us that the quotient or product is going to be negative. So negative, negative. If we are going to have a product or quotient of two real numbers with the same sign, it's going to be positive. So if we have positive times positive, or again, if we're dividing, or if we have a negative times, oops, I'm about to write a positive again. If we have a negative times a negative, that was too big, then we're going to have positive answers or positive products or quotients. So fill in your chart, make sure you add the word dividing or division on there, and let's keep going with life. All right, we still have our same rules right here. Let me erase whatever's over here, and let's move on. All right, multiplying real numbers. What is each product? Well, 9 times negative 7. I have different signs, so I know that my answer is going to be negative. 9 times 7, 63. Number B, 32 times 0.5. Those are both positive numbers, so my answer is going to be positive. I'm looking for half of 32, which is 16. Do I have to have the positive sign? I don't have to, but if you want to write it there because it makes you feel really good inside, then you do that. All right, number C. Let's go back to 6th grade when we were learning how to multiply fractions. Multiply straight across those numerators, straight across those denominators. The negative sign, guys, applies to only the top. Only the top. That looks terrible, so I'm going to erase it. So again, this only goes to the numerators. So let's multiply straight across. Negative 1 times 5 equals negative 5. And our denominator is 2 times 6, 12. I cannot reduce that because 5 is a prime number. Therefore, I do not have anything that goes into 5 that also goes into 12 to help me reduce. Last one, D, negative 5 times 2. This is the same song and dance as negative 5 times negative 5. I know that the signs are the same, so my answer is going to be positive. I'm going to have positive 25. All right, question. Is the product of 9 times negative 7 the same as the product of negative 7 times 9? We're going to have a big fat duh yes on that one. And the reason is commutative property tells me that that's okay. Commutative, and I will write down here, property of multiplication. Hopefully I'm not writing on my face. I feel like I'm about right there. All right, let's keep going. Number 3, simplifying square root expressions. What is the simplified form of each expression? So in letter A, I've corrected myself, in letter A we have the negative square root of 49. So I'm looking at this radicand, the number under the radical symbol. It's 49. So I want to know, what times itself is 49? Well, 7 times 7 is 49, but I want the negative square root of that. So I'm going to add my negative sign here. The reason that that works is because negative 7 times negative 7, again, is going to give me positive 49. The radicand here is positive, so it's okay for me to have negative square root. In number B, I'm looking for the positive or negative square root of 4/9. Let's distribute that radical symbol to the top and to the bottom, and we'll work from there. It's not scary. So we're going to have positive or negative. We're just going to literally put those two signs right on top of each other, of the square root of 4 over the square root of 9. Keep moving. I have positive, negative. What's the square root of 4? 2. And then the square root of 9 is 3. So my final answer here is positive or negative 2/3. The reason it's both is because positive times positive is positive, and negative times negative is positive. So they both work in this situation. Let's look at these two questions here. Question number 1, how are the positive and negative square roots of a number related? Well, they're additive inverses, meaning if I were to add them together, they would equal zippo, zero, nada, nilch, nothing. Number 2, is it possible to simplify a square root expression that has a negative radicand? Meaning, if I have something that looks like this, negative 49, underneath the radical symbol, the radicand is negative. Is it possible, so think this through, is it possible to multiply something by itself and get a negative number? Hopefully you said no, because you cannot get a negative product when squaring a real number. Again, I can't multiply something by itself that's going to give me a negative number. I would either have to have a negative times a negative, which is going to be positive, or positive times positive, which is going to be positive. There's no way to get a negative radicand. All right. Wow, this is a big old page. This is probably going to be at the bottom. You're not going to be able to see it. All right, so dividing real numbers. Let's look at number 3. I've got my rules right here in case we need them. The elevation of a hot air balloon changes by negative 3750 feet in 5 minutes after opening the parachute. What is the change in the hot air balloon's elevation each minute? So we are going to be taking negative 3,750 feet divided by 5, because I want to find each minute, which is going to be about the average amount. So I'm going to divide that. I know my answer is going to be negative because I have a negative divided by a positive, and it's going to be 750 feet each minute. Notice how it's negative, meaning it's going to go down 750 feet each minute. All right, look at this question. What is the expected change in elevation for the skydiver 3 minutes after opening the parachute? So here's what we're looking at. If he goes down 750 feet each minute, and we want to know how many feet he's going to be down after 3 minutes, so times 3, how much is that? Well, plug it in your calculator. Your answer is going to be negative 2,200 feet. Okay, let's look at number 3. You make 5 withdrawals of equal amounts from your bank account. This is a gigantic real world situation. All right, the total number you withdraw is $360. What is the change in your account balance each time you make a withdrawal? Try this question, pause it, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay, did you try that one? All right, so your final answer should have been negative $72, meaning that you took out $72 every time you made a withdrawal from your bank account. I wonder how many of you actually have a banking account, like a checking or savings account. It'd be interesting to hear how many of you actually kind of get what we're talking about. All right, so this question says, will the change in the account balance be represented by a positive or a negative number? Well, duh, we already showed you it's a negative number because every time you make a withdrawal, it's going to be represented by negative. You're pulling money out, that's negative. Just like when you buy a lunch in your lunch account, that's probably the better example. If you buy a lunch in your lunch account, you are pulling money out because you're buying something. It's negative $3.50 or however much it costs you for a lunch. All right, bottom of the page. This is amazing right here, guys. Division involving 0. You can't divide by 0 or the world will explode. Trust me, there's memes about it. I'll show you one tomorrow. All right, so in words it says, the quotient of 0 and any non-zero real number is 0. So I can take 0 and divide it by whatever number I want, and I'm still going to get 0. But if I try to take 5 and divide it by 0, the answer is what's called undefined. Okay, so let's look at that. So here's what it's going to talk about in your calculator. 0 calculator can be divided among 20 students. So 0 calculators can be divided among 20 students. Each student gets 0 calculators. But you can't take 20 calculators and give them to zero students. There's no students to give anything to. So there's how you kind of work it. I don't know. Look it up. It's a good meme. Chuck Norris can divide by 0 is my favorite one. Find it. All right. All right, so let's move this down. I'll put it over here. Okay. So, inverse property of multiplication. So, for every non-zero real number a, there is a multiplicative inverse 1 over a, such that a times 1 over a equals 0. Basically what we're saying here is this. This is, the word examples do not make sense to me. This is what makes sense. So, the multiplicative inverse of -4 is -1/4, because when I multiply those two together, I get 1. So that can also be called a reciprocal here. A reciprocal of a non-zero real number is basically, you basically just flip it over. There's a lot of gobbledygook right here. You just flip over the number and that's your reciprocal or multiplicative inverse. So dividing fractions. What is the value of x over y when x equals 1/2 and y equals -2/3? Is it, wow, we already have the answer here. Is it 1/4, -4/3, -3/2, or -3/4? Step 1, rewrite the expression. So we have, that's my dog, he's got his collar on. Rewrite the expression. So x divided by y, we're going to have 1/2 divided by -2/3. Notice how I'm writing it out this way and not in fraction form. I know that that fraction bar means divide. I know that dividing fractions I have to multiply by the reciprocal because I learned that in 7th and 6th grade. So this becomes this, 1/2, oh man, I'm going to write on my face. No, about right here. All right, 1/2 times -3 over 2. All I did was multiply by the reciprocal. I flipped that over. Here's my last step. You probably can't even see that. And I'm going to get -3 over 4. So, -3/4 is my answer. I should have D. All right, let's keep going. Where'd the deal? There it is. Oh my gosh, we're done. Can you believe it? That was a fast one. All right, summary. Is it possible to square a real number, meaning multiply it by itself, and obtain a negative product? Go back 3 slides and you've got your answer. Explain your reasoning. We're going to talk about this on the flip side. See you tomorrow.